Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of The Current, where we premiere classical to contemporary music and beyond. And tonight we have a lineup of John Shaughnessy, the Byrne Kozar Duo, Pope Bama, and Michael Harrison, composer. I would just like to thank you all for so much for coming out tonight and through the storm going on outside here in Charlotte. It means a lot that you showed up tonight. I hope you're all doing well and staying well. Um, Before we start, uh, I would like for you all to get somewhere comfy, maybe get a drink in hand, and let's welcome up our first artist. Tonight is John Shaughnessy, composer and bassist.
How's it going?
Hey John, how are you doing tonight?
Been pretty good. Hanging in there.
You know what? I think this is a. I have to turn my Bluetooth off. For some reason, my Bluetooth speaker picked you up in the other room, and I can't hear you now. So
Hmm.
this is really weird. Okay, go ahead.
All right. Yeah, doing good. Hanging in there like everybody else, I think. Can you hear that?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Okay, so I can hear you now. I'm so sorry about that, John. How are you doing tonight?
Yeah, good. Hanging in there like everybody else.
Yes, good. Awesome, awesome. It looks good. We got a little crowd in here in Zoom.
Yeah.
And so John is also one of our hosts sometimes, and tonight he's stepping in as a performer. We had a little cancellation, so he just swung right in and saved the night. So thank you so much for doing that, John. What do you have to play for us?
I'm going to play like two or three selections from my last two solo bass records. And actually, this is going to be the first time I'm actually playing in front of an audience with this stuff. So
Wow.
a long, long journey to get from starting this to here. I had to overcome a whole bunch of injuries and stuff, and so I'm kind of excited about this. So it's gonna be the first time playing this stuff live.
How did the injuries hold you back from being able to do all this?
Um, well, it was like I had a really big problem with tendonitis and compressed nerves. I'd started recording actually in like 2015, and then I got to where my hands wouldn't work, and then I had to do a whole lot of rehab and physical therapy to get that back. Um, Started recording again. Wasn't happy with the results, so I actually re-recorded my last album, Long Journey, twice. So
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
Wow.
So
Yeah, that is a long haul. And do you do all your production yourself, or how does that
I
work
do,
typically?
yeah.
Wow.
So I kind of do everything in my little studio right here.
Nice. All right. And so you're gonna play them. How many pieces? Is it one or two?
Probably two, maybe
Okay.
squeeze one in. So, the
Awesome.
first piece is a tune called Allegheny. Um, and there you go. I'm gonna
All
switch
right.
my mic off, so just give me a thumbs up that you can still hear me.
Okay.
Sweet. Cool. Everybody hear that? Cool. Everybody's muted for some reason. There we go.
Great. Yeah, that was awesome. Thank you,
It was
John.
awesome, yeah.
Thank you.
So, what influenced that?
Kind of in a strange way, moving to the Carolinas, kind of an influence that I think unconsciously. I've kind of really been into the kind of fingerstyle guitar thing. I'm not really into bluegrass or anything like that, but I've kind of been influenced by the kind of blues, Piedmont blues, fingerstyle guitar stuff. And I kind of over the last decade or so have developed this technique for bass where I can kind of play chords while shifting around, kind of using lower notes on higher strings and higher notes on lower strings to kind of imitate the guitar. Just kind of something I've been working on over the years.
Nice.
The
Very cool.
pieces sound simple, but they're actually very complicated to play. It's a complicated dance between the right and the left hand, and it's a little nerve-wracking.
Of course, it sounds really fabulous. Thank you. And
Yeah.
you have another piece for us, right?
Yeah. So the second piece, actually, I didn't realize this until I programmed it, but the second piece is in the same key, D minor. It's a piece called Perseverance. Kind of when I was really trying to get my chops back after all the physical therapy. I was kind of doing this little practice exercise, and it kind of turned into this thing. So the middle section is kind of improvised, Michael Hedges-ish, and then you'll hear what I'm doing here. So this is Perseverance.
Awesome.
They wanted adrenaline tempo there.
Wow, that was really cool. It was very etudial in nature. And what was the part? What? Okay, first of all, you have a what is how many strings are on this?
6 strings.
Okay, and what is the lowest note you're playing?
So it's B, E,
Okay.
A, D, G, C.
So on a six-string bass, does it extend the lower end or the higher end?
Both.
Oh
So
wow,
regular
interesting.
first string bass is inside, and then low note.
That was epic. That was so epic, and I loved the part when it was going. It just had this like groove, and then it was like I don't know, just somebody just hammered a low piano string. It was so cool,
Yeah.
and then the harmonics beautifully executed. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Super cool. I bet really super hard to perform as well.
Yeah,
Would love to see the sheet music for that. That is really
I would too, because actually I need to do that as a next project. I need to kind of write all the stuff.
right.
Get it ready.
That's what kind of hope happens to composer performer people. I think you just get into the creative thing and then you just do it and then that's what it is.
Yeah.
But also another way to share is with that sheet music,
Yeah.
and it's hard to do. I know. Every composer that also performs has this that same plight. So, is there anything else you'd like to share about the nature of your work or
Um.
anything?
Well, I mean, I do. Well, I used to do a lot of different things. You know, kind of split my time between doing commercial stuff
Right.
and composing and doing original music. So,
Right.
kind of am looking at that's gonna be my next thing. I think is doing more stuff like this. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know when the other stuff is gonna come back, and I don't necessarily know if I want to do a lot of that stuff anymore. So,
Right. Everybody's rethinking a lot
Yeah.
right now in every area of life, and it's really interesting. It's been every industry has been having different circumstances, and the music live events industry, live music industry. I mean, it's a whole another set of issues.
yeah.
But yeah, that's why we're happy to do this, and even John hosts with us sometimes too, and that's why we do this show. So thank you so much, John. And actually, that is a segue into we do ask for donations. So this is every Tuesday at 8 p.m. and we feature about four. John is actually local. He's local to Charlotte, North Carolina, and we feature a mix of local and nationally recognized musicians and performers. And one way that you can help us keep this going, and the performers also split it evenly, is our tip jar. So we have one on Venmo, CLT New Music, Cash App, $CLT New Music, and PayPal.me is with a slash and then Charlotte New Music. And any ways that you would like to contribute would be super appreciated. Down at the bottom is our website, and if you would click the get involved and then donate button, that also is a way to donate via credit card, or it tells you all these ways over again over there. So one more time, we have Venmo, Cash App, and PayPal. And the first two are CLT New Music, and the last one is slash Charlotte New Music. So coming back to the show to feature our next up. Thanks again, John Shaughnessy. And our next up is the Byrne Kozar Duo, live from
Malden, Massachusetts.
Malden, Massachusetts. Amazing. This is actually one of my favorite things about this show is we've been able to ask so many people and from all over the place, and we can put on a show now with people from anywhere, really. So it's been amazing. And could you tell us a little bit about your duo, Andy Kozar and Corinne Byrne?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here with us and with Elizabeth and Charlotte New Music Festival and all the other performers tonight to experience this new creative way to share performance right now. And so we're the Byrne Kozar Duo. and we perform new music and work towards broadening the repertoire for solo voice and solo trumpet. We also perform Baroque music for soprano and natural trumpet. And so tonight we're actually going to perform two new pieces. So one that was written for us in 2017 by David Smook, and another one that was written just 5 months ago. And Andy's going to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the first piece we're going to play is by a composer named Alex Lunsky. Alex is a Brazilian composer who I was lucky to get to know when he was living in New York City and doing his degrees and schooling at Columbia. So I actually got to know Alex through work with a quartet that I have called Load Bang, which is how I'm connected with Elizabeth. So there's sort of these different degrees of connection between everybody here. So this piece by Alex Lunsky, last sort of maybe September, October, I asked him if he was interested in writing a piece for our duo. And he said yes, and he wasn't sure when he was going to have time. And then like 3 weeks later, this piece appeared in the inbox. He got super excited about it. And it happened very, very quickly. So there's actually two separate pieces. We're going to play one of them called Solace. So this piece is loosely based off of Here Comes the Sun by the Beatles. So as you're listening to it, there's one of the things I love about Alex's music is how rhythmically active it is. And he says that a lot of that has to do with growing up in Brazil and then the music and the city life there. So as you're listening to this, I think it's interesting to listen to both the rhythmic interplay between both Corinne and I, and also see if you can't hear, aside from the text of Here Comes the Sun, which is obvious, that's where that comes from, there are very subtle musical sort of hints of the original Beatles tunes. So see if you can't pick those things out. This is Alexander Lunsky's Solace.
Great.
So the next piece we're gonna play is a piece called "All Are Welcome Here" by David Smook, and Corrine will tell you a little bit about that piece, and then Elizabeth, if you have any questions,
Sure.
we're happy to chat.
Awesome.
So this piece was written back in 2017, and if you'll remember what happened in about November of 2016, you'll remember that this particular year was very tumultuous and continues to be somewhat of a tumultuous political time for us right now in the United States. And our good friend David Smook decided to write a piece with this very specific message of all are welcome here in this country. And so he set that text, all are welcome here, in 16 different languages. And he used the IPA to notate where in the piece you're singing. I'm singing each phrase in what language, and sometimes he switches around where the IPA shows up and kind of puts it back together into this puzzle of IPA.
Hey, Corrine, what's IPA?
IPA is the International Phonetic Alphabet. So basically, if somebody can read IPA, if they don't know 16 languages, such as me, I don't know, I can't speak these languages, I'm able to read the sounds correctly. So each sound has its own specific symbol that represents the sound. So I would say what to listen for in this piece are the fragments of the languages that you might recognize, and the interesting way that David Smook blends the voices in a way that sometimes you can't actually tell who is doing what between the voice and the trumpet.
Why do you say that the FBI openly investigated? I won't have to get into the issue of predication, but let me just start out by saying that I think
All right.
Yeah,
Wow.
thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys. So there's a lot of overlap in the range of the trumpet with the soprano. You're Corinne, right? You're a soprano, right? And do you find that the range overlaps pretty much? Is that right? Oh, I think you're muted.
Awesome. Yeah.
I would say the range is almost exactly the same, and we actually didn't talk about it all that much in terms of the exact notes until relatively recently, and we figured out it actually is almost to the note the same range that we have.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is so cool. So, what have been some challenges in finding repertoire? Is there much music out there for you guys?
In terms of early music, yeah, there's a bunch.
Interesting. Okay.
So there's a bunch of Handel, there's a bunch of Scarlatti, there's a lot of Italian Baroque music. A lot of that music ends up being, some of it is excerpted from operas, so you would have these
Right.
moments where the Baroque trumpets would be basically counting rest the entire thing, and then there would be one sort of heroic aria between the soprano and the trumpet, and then the trumpet could pack up and go home.
Oh wow.
But there's a bunch of really lovely music like that, and then there's a very large gap of
Okay.
a few hundred years where there essentially is nothing.
Wow.
And then there started to be a handful of contemporary pieces, but still not a lot. And it seemed to us like it's a very obvious combination. It was obvious to composers hundreds of years ago. And so we've just been reaching out to friends and colleagues and composers whose music we like to sort of build this repertoire. I think there's also a funny, stereotypically, there's funny personality overlaps between sopranos and trumpet players too. So
Tell us more.
it makes sense, I think, that they're that trumpeters and sopranos end up working together. The ranges are very similar, and hopefully a lot of these pieces will end up being pieces that students and professionals all over the place can pick up and play.
Yeah, and pretty much all of our
Amazing.
new repertoire are pieces that were written for us that we commissioned.
Yeah.
I think all of it, all of the new repertoire.
That is super cool, super interesting. And what were some of the challenges in putting some of these newer pieces together that you just performed? I guess the latter piece.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that the challenges, at least personally, are the same as challenges with any music. So it's chamber music, so essentially
Right.
the things that are tricky are learning the notes and rhythms and making sure you're doing those things correctly. And then when you come in to work on it together,
Right.
it's not really that much of a different process. The notes are a little bit harder, the rhythms are a little bit harder, but we're still learning it and working it in the same way that you kind of learn any music.
I think that the same pretty much as what Andy's saying, except for me, there's a point in which our music tends to click and we become kind of an organism with it. And I
Right.
think, a piece that's that hard in terms of the notes and rhythms, it just takes a little bit longer to get to that point where you feel like you're not just executing it, but
Right.
that you're performing it and you are.
You have a synergy, definitely, and the blend. I was gonna say the blend is really beautiful. You guys have really got that down really well, and like the transfers and the blend, and it was all really cool.
Thanks
So
Thanks so much.
yeah, so Andy, one more time for you guys. This is Bern Kozar duo, and Andy Kozar is from Lodebang, and I've worked with him for several years now with the Charlotte New Music Festival. He comes every other year, and he'll be part of the Charlotte New Music Festival next month. And Corinne, I've never actually had the pleasure of working with, but I did meet her last summer. So so super cool to feature you both. I didn't even know that you guys were a duo or that Corinne was really out there with singing like this. This was really, really neat to find out and come across. So I'm glad that we could share this with more
Yeah,
people.
thank you. Thanks for thinking
so
of
much
us.
for having us.
Of course. Thank you guys. So you guys have a seat, relax. Thank you so much. And we're going to go on to Pope Bama Duo, another duo in residence. So here we have percussionist Dennis Sullivan and saxophone extraordinaire and composer Aaron Rodgers. Dennis, are you also a composer?
I am, yeah.
Oh, really? I didn't know this. And I am just now meeting Dennis. So nice to meet you. And where have you been in the world? What are you up to these days? What are you working on?
Well, I've been in this 400 square foot apartment for all 13 months of March.
Yeah,
Yeah.
March era.
Yeah. So I've been working on a lot of daily improvisations and doing a lot of recording that way, and having a lot of folks send me material and improvisations that I've been recording responses to, or kind of doing some musical electronic work with. And that's been a bulk of the time. I was teaching for a while, but this semester is over, so no more of that. And then Aaron and I have some concerts coming up in June that will also be in this apartment. Figure. One of which
Can't get enough of it.
Exactly. So we'll be premiering a new large work from a composer named Rick Burkhardt, and this is actually about half of the setup with the addition of some electronics. So yeah, and we've got an album coming out in about a month and a half of our pieces that we've written for the ensemble.
And these are pieces that you had written before the quarantine, I guess.
Yeah, it spans maybe about the 4 years that we've been in a duo.
Oh my gosh, this is so cool. I didn't know that. Well, that's great to know that you have an album coming out. Please do post in the chat the album info where we can find it and hear it. So Erin has been around. I've worked with her at the Charlotte New Music Festival. She's a member of Hypercube. She's also a superb composer. She actually won the national composition competition we had for the sax quartet, Red Clay Sax Quartet, which was about 4 or 5 years ago maybe. But so anyway, Erin, what have you been up to besides the stuff that Dennis just told us?
Yeah, we're sharing a lot right now.
Right.
A lot of space, a lot of music, a lot of sounds. So as Dennis said, Pope Bomb is coming up with a few concerts and shows in June, and the album, we've got Hypercube just came out with an album.
Right.
And there's a new interview today, but Alejandro Ruddy did an interview with us that I think was posted as part of that email. So you want to check that out, because we're going to be playing some amazing pieces at the festival next month.
Right.
And so that's Hypercube with Andrea Lodge, Jay Source, Chris Graham, and myself. And then I've been working on a few pieces, as you do, sitting on the couch and writing. And that's I can't really talk about one of them just yet, but it's been keeping me busy. And then there's another little project that my group Thing and Why has been involved with, and that is creating Zoom operas. So we're using the Zoom platform to try to do live opera and trying to explore all the ins and outs of that platform. Not unlike this in some ways.
That
but
is super cool, though.
Yeah. So I'd love to share that in the chat with once we finish our little set
Do
here.
it. Yes, please.
Opera.
And the other thing that I'll say before we begin playing is that we have a very, very thin wall between the neighbors here. So one of the things we've both been exploring are very small sounds. And small sounds and not too late. But the set we're going to play today is going to feature sort of these small sound instruments, and we'll talk a little bit more about the instruments. But for now, just to note that these are all sounds that we hope that our neighbor won't start banging on the wall during. So we're going to do our best.
All right, Godspeed.
If he does, we'll go with it.
Yeah, we'll do one more. All right, so we're gonna do another little piece by both of us. And this one is, this one's dedicated to the folks that we've been cheering on at 7 p.m. every night in New York City, which a number of you probably have also been doing. But every night at 7, everybody opens their window and makes about as much noise as they can in support of our heroes, emergency workers, essential workers. And Dennis has been using the conch shell to wake up the neighborhood here and get everybody out. So this is, this is dedicated to them.
Woo! That was yeah, somebody said in the chat that was intense. I love everything about this. And it totally was. It was such an adventure, such a sound adventure. Thank you so much, you guys, for taking us down that road. I loved it. You guys are truly sound artists. I loved it. I was wondering, is there a monkey or a bull anywhere in there, or is that all you guys? We've had a bull on the show before, so I was just wondering.
It feels like a bull in a china shop a little bit here with all of the just clutter in the small space, but yeah, we've been experimenting with these sounds for a while, and one of the things we do is use a lot of contact mics, a lot of close miking. I have a mic in the bell of the sax. There's Dennis has this unique
under the bridges.
this unique instrument that we've been calling the snare violin. It's kind of set up like it's set up.
Yeah, it's very crude and cheap.
Right.
Which are both things I really like. And yeah, it's 2 guitar strings stretched very tight over the drum, and then these are just like wooden shims that you would use to like level your table or anything used as bridges, but they also are really like great conductors. Like they're just immediately shoot the sound directly into the head of the drum, and
Wow.
it's kind of like a yeah, I guess like a violin meets a banjo meets a drum, kind of.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
That is so cool. And were there any electronics in that you played?
In the first set, yeah, there were two guitar pedals. One which is
Okay.
Boss DD6 that just usually a digital wave that has a really nice capture feature, kind of like a looper would, but only up to 7 seconds. But what's interesting about it is it can go down to milliseconds, so you can get those kind of very harsh glitched captures where it's actually
Right.
repeating itself so fast that it kind of becomes its own sound. And then another pedal that kind of does like granular synthesis and reorders samples according to the parameters you set it to.
Okay. Nice. What would you say genre-wise? What are the influences in this type of music that you guys create? I don't know if that makes sense. Hopefully it does.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we would call this experimental, but the
Right.
interesting thing is that we're thinking a lot, not only about sounds, but about form and composing as we do it. So there's a sort of free improvisation element of the sort of experimental setup here. This is kind of how we compose.
Right.
Come in with sketches, we'll mix sounds, and then we'll commit those sounds to notated scores and play those scores often and in very similar ways. So I think it all is the sort of root of composition. What would you say?
Yeah, I mean, I guess as far as influences, it's extremely broad, you know? I mean, I think
Yeah.
when I think about some of the work with the single string and the monocard and finding the kind of like false harmonics in it,
Right.
and dealing with like kind of the flanging of the surface area of the bow, I probably am influenced quite a bit by, you know, work of like Helmut Lachenmann, but then at the same time moving into like the concertante stuff, would be equally as influenced by underground heavy metal or Mike Patton,
Right.
one of my favorite vocal artists.
I could definitely sense some heavy to that.
So,
It was so fun. Thank
yeah,
you.
I guess like looking for the space that
Yeah.
exists in between those two
Right.
places. Yeah.
Super cool. I would almost say, because it's not heavy metal, but I could definitely hear the heavy in it, and I would say like heavy experimental or heavy sound art. You know, it was great. I loved
Take
it.
it.
Great. Thanks for having us.
Oh, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much.
Really appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. So last up, we have Michael Harrison, composer and pianist. This is such a diverse program tonight, and that's actually one of my favorite things too. Is you can really make this like a lineup of all similar instruments, which we've done before, or just all over the place, which is kind of like tonight, which is a lot of fun. It's such an adventure. So next up, I'm going to let Michael actually talk about what he's got in store for us tonight.
So one of the things that I do is I work with microtonality, specifically with different types of just intonation series. I'm a pianist, so I do a lot at the piano. I do works for microtonality, most well known is called Revelation. But I also
Michael, I am having a little bit of trouble hearing you talk.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yeah,
So let me see if I switch mics to the speaker.
sure.
How is this? Is that
Oh my gosh, yes, I can hear you very nicely.
Should I start over again?
If you don't mind, yeah, sure,
Sure.
that'd be great.
One of the things that I do is I work with a lot of microtonality,
Okay.
especially just intonation, which is an early form of microtonality before the tempered scale. And I do it a lot at the piano because that's my main instrument. One
Right.
of my more well-known works is called Revelation, which is an evening-length microtonal piano piece. But I also write for voices and strings and other instruments that don't have fixed pitch.
Awesome.
One of the projects that's coming out now is a new album. It's coming out in August by the vocal group Roomful of Teeth. It'll be out on New Amsterdam Records, and it's a piece called Just Constellations that uses microtonal voices, and we recorded it in the Tank, which is this amazing space out in Colorado in the mountains with a 40-second reverb.
Oh my God.
So you can literally sing duets with yourself, sing a note and it sustains, and then sing another note.
Wow.
So that's pretty cool. And I also do Indian classical music. I was trained as a vocalist, but these days I'm really working on adapting it for the piano. So
Interesting.
to find, there's really only 2 of us in the world that are doing this, because piano is not a traditional
No.
Indian classical instrument. So each of us are doing it in very different ways and finding new ways to adapt Indian classical ragas and rhythmic systems to the piano, and it actually works pretty well. So that's what I'm going to do tonight. Over the pandemic, I've actually written 4 pieces in this one different raga. It's called Rag Bhairav. One of them is for string quartet, piano, and vibes. Another is for the Young People's Chorus of New York City. And one is a solo piano piece. These are all fully notated pieces. And then the one I'm going to do for you now is a structured improvisation. Indian music really is structured improvisation. The raga, which is like a scale with certain melodic contours, becomes the basis of the melodic and harmonic improvisation. So I'll do a structured improvisation Rag Bhairav. It's also in a 16-bit beat cycle. I'll start with what's called Alap, which is a free, metrically free improvisation. So there's no meter. It's more about just simple melodic phrases and listening to the resonances.
Okay.
And then I couldn't bring my tabla player over because of the pandemic, so I'm going to use electronic tabla and tambour. And I'll just also say that piano is tuned in my own tuning system, which is a just intonation system I designed for playing Indian ragas. And also there's every piano string, there's 3 strings for every note.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 of them are muted out, so that
Oh,
you
okay.
get just a single string sound.
Nice.
So let's switch to the other mic and then tell me if everything's good, and then I'll play.
Okay.
We're good?
Sounds good. That was absolutely stunning. That was stunning. Thank you so much, Michael.
You're so welcome.
I loved the piano sound, first of all. I'm not used to hearing, I mean, I have a piano, I'm a piano player, but I'm not used to hearing the piano like that. And I mean, in the comments, they speak for themselves. Great work, amazing, fascinating. It's all extremely true. And I'm fascinated as a pianist at how you came up with this tuning system, and it really was a great compromise for overcoming a lot of the limitations in translating the music to that style. I think I don't think I couldn't have done it with any more justice than that. That is super cool.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth.
Yeah. Um, is there anything else you could tell us about what you played? Like, I was wondering personally, how much of that was improvised, percentage wise?
Well, it's all, I'd say like it's 90% improvised. So
Yeah.
the reprise that I kept coming back to is composed. I didn't write it down, but it's just written by memory.
Mm-hmm.
And then a couple of the, like the fast passage at the end, up and down, that's what's called a T-high, which is an Indian rhythmic figure that you repeat 3 times. It creates a polyrhythm, then it lands on the downbeat of the 16-beat cycle.
Nice.
So that's a traditional kind of ending, so that was composed. And then the rest was all improvised.
Amazing. I'm impressed really by the improvisational nature of Indian classical music like this versus our Western classical music. I mean, are there similarities or is it very different in the fact that the improvisation happens?
There's more similarities between jazz and Indian classical music than between classical, because jazz is based on improvisation and spontaneity, and that you have certain structures that jazz musicians know and get together, and so they can all play together, even if they've never played together or rehearsed before. And same thing with Indian classical music.
Wow.
Sitars can get together with a tabla player and do a concert without any rehearsal because there's structures in place that allow for that.
Wow. How fun.
Yeah.
That really opens it up. Nice. Is there anything else you're working on these days? And how do you, okay, one more question. How do you tune that piano and then go play other stuff?
I'm sorry, my screen
Oh,
froze.
sorry.
can
So
just
how do
say it
you
again?
tune that piano for this and then play other stuff, Western
Right.
music?
Yeah, you really can't. So I actually have 3 pianos in my studio.
Right.
Each one is in a standard tuning. This one's in my raga tuning, and one is
Okay.
in my revelation tuning, which is much more microtonal. So I didn't always have 3 pianos, but I'm fortunate at this stage of my life right now I do. So I really can, explore all these different things without retuning the piano. Otherwise, when I was doing certain work, I'd always have to, retune the piano for a few months
Right.
and come back to it.
Wow. Yeah, what a pain. Laborious. Well, thank you so much for sharing. And what other projects might you have coming up, or what are you working on these days?
Right. Well, I have 2 other albums in the can, actually,
Nice.
that I'm talking to record labels about right now. One of them is we just recorded in Berlin right before the outbreak. It's with an electronic ambient artist named Christina Vantsu. And some of it is raga based, but with a lot of electronics.
Nice.
With the just intonation piano. And then the other album is called 7 Leading Names, which is probably coming out on Cantaloupe. And it's basically chamber pieces, so a lot of strings and piano and some voices. Ashley Bathgate, cellist, is on it, and Tim Thane, fantastic violinist.
Nice. I would look forward to hearing that. Maybe where can we find that? What is there a website or a label that will be releasing it?
It's posted on my SoundCloud page now.
Okay.
But you know what I'll do is when the albums come out, I'll send you a note so you can forward it to me.
Yeah, we'll post it up on the Charlotte New Music social media stuff.
Cool.
And
And I'll put
give you a
a
shout
few
out.
things in the chat now too.
Do that. That would be amazing. Yeah, that would be great so people can know where to find you and your music. So thank you so much for everybody. Basically, there are, as you can see, there are so many paths musically. You can't just listen to radio, really. I mean, there's nothing wrong with radio. We love radio. Radio is amazing, and it's a super widespread source for amazing music, but you really can't hear the variety of what we try to present on the show. And I mean, really, how many people, or how many of you really thought you would hear the kind of stuff you heard tonight? How many were really expecting the range, right? So it's always a musical adventure, and that's kind of what we do here. We just have fun. We want to share quality, amazing artistic music. Original is awesome too. We do love classical as well, and but we do want to program basically an adventure in music, something that you can, something that moves, something that you can actually learn from and see the beauty and see the art that composers of today really try to relay and to communicate through music. And so anyway, just a little history on the show. It started as an open mic. I had no intention of doing this, but we were forced to either quit or figure it out online. And so it was an open mic night, February, a beautiful February evening. Matt Darcy killed it on viola for a 30-minute feature set, and then other people performed before and after him. But the next month we were going to do our second open mic, and we got, everybody got told they couldn't have fun, so so we took the open mic on here. But our 2.5-hour open mic doesn't quite fit well online in a venue like this, so we did consolidate it to a little bit more than an hour, as you see tonight. Sometimes it's less than an hour. We try to make it right around an hour. And but now we focus on 4 performers every week, every Tuesday, and we're going to do that until we can't have concerts or go to concerts again. So I don't know what I signed myself up for, but I do have a lot of help, and I'm super, super grateful for that. For Johnny Golian behind the scenes and video work, and for John Shaughnessy, as you saw, who performed first tonight. Did double duty on performing and then helping run the show afterwards. And for all the people that are going to come on board and host and do behind the scenes work as well and keep this thing going. So, as promised, I will ask you all for one more time if you would like to contribute. This is the way you can contribute right now. Venmo is CLT New Music, Cash App is $CLT New Music, and PayPal.me/Charlotte New Music. And then we do have our website, where you can also go to find those and donate with a credit card if you prefer that way. So that's how we're doing it these days, and this is basically our tip jar. Remember, it gets split between the performers and the host and the people running the show. So we really appreciate any help you can give, and we really look forward to coming back here every week and seeing what else is in store. So thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. I hope you all will be safe and well, and find some things, find the positive in all this stuff. And I'm super impressed at the amazing creative work that's going around. It's hard to be creative right now. It's hard to, when you lose all your gigs, or when a lot of things are canceled and you depend on those things for money. And I know a lot of people in the world are in this situation. And we feel that too as artists. We also absorb all of that. And to be creative right now is really hard. So many congrats and many props to the people that are doing it, like Popama and Bern Kozar duo, and Michael Harrison and John Shaughnessy. It's absolutely beautiful. So have a good evening, and thank you for tuning in.